Is it authentic about all of Black America or just a segment of Black America? I mean, my concern is that white kids that are buying this stuff, a lot of the music reinforces negative stereotypes, that Blacks are violent, that they disrespect women, that they kill each other, that they use bad language, and that's supposed to be the Black reality. Well, does that concern you?
That's just a result that we don't have a lot of media outlets, because the white community is way more violent than the Black community on a bigger level. You talk on black violence, look at Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's not a black face nowhere in there except in the UN. But and white people disrespect their women on a bigger level than Black people ever could do. It's a white man that says, well, a woman only makes 71 cents when I make $1. That's nothing Black got to do with that right there. So the kids today are really not concerned on really white people endorsing who we are. We're not concerned about that in 93. And I think that we really need to refocus as a community and could care less who looks bad upon us, because it doesn't make a difference. White people have really never helped our situation. Matter of fact, they was founders in putting us in this situation. So their endorsement shouldn't matter in 1993.
So you don't care what they think?
Not at all.
What do you think the appeal of the music is to the 70% of the market that is white that buys it?
The appeal is the reality of it. Everybody likes the truth. The truth is good for your brain. And in a society that feeds you so many lies, which doesn't help you grow as an individual at all, this is uncut, raw truth. Why do people watch Cops? Because they can see the truth. They don't want to see reenactments no more, when this is showing you the real deal. And that's what the rappers are providing for the people, the real deal.
Welcome to a special Friday edition of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J. This video of Ice Cube pretty much saying, I don't give a fuck what white people say, is what Black people should be saying all on the planet. We've had enough years of them having a say-so in who we are, that we don't need you to speak about who we are for literally the next several million years. You've said enough. Not interested in your opinion about the Black community, our culture, what we think, how we approach things. It's completely irrelevant and immaterial to our existence. Love that about Ice Cube. All right, so, and he's a fellow Compton native, so shout out to Ice Cube. Today, so yesterday I was gonna do this. I was preparing the stream for yesterday, and just couldn't get around to getting here to do it. And this was it. The case for exiting the Democratic Party. For me, this is a very important issue. I think this is one of the first videos I did on the Populist Voice when I first started doing this. It was, and I might get to that video today. I have a bunch of videos to go through. But that video was one. It had to be one of 5 first videos that I ever did, and it's the one that's pinned on my Twitter. That was one of the first videos, and I think it's something about a general strike. But yeah, it was something about a general strike and also exiting the Democratic Party because there wasn't a viable option to get anything done. So before we get into the topic, let's do a quick chat check and just see what's up with everybody. RBN family is here. Hello. What's up? Bryce. Hugh. Randy. All right. A lot of familiar faces in the chat. I'll do a couple more, and then we'll get into what's next here. All right, so there we go. Let's go. All right, so like this stream, it's a normal thing I always say, like this stream, more people will see this stream and participate in the conversation in the chat if you like it. And I think it would be nice to get people who, aren't necessarily saying I'm there yet to say exiting the Democratic Party, because I want to convince more people. I don't want to preaching to the choir is fine, but I would like to speak to those that are on the fence, speak to those that haven't even thought of this until this Roe versus Wade actually all of these Supreme Court decisions have been terrible. So this is freedom, right? Nine people of the ruling class making decisions for the proletariat. That's essentially what we have. So let's see what the first video. Like I said, I have a ton of videos to kind of go through. Now, these videos, what I'm trying to do in most cases is provide a foundation to provide a case, exhibits to prove the guilt of the Democratic Party and that we need to exit the Democratic Party. So let's begin actually. So I'm just going to go down the line a number of different things that has happened. Now, this one here, this is the most recent one. So let's start with the most recent one. And once I put it on the screen, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we're going to start with the most recent footage for proving this case. And it's something that we've all seen. Everybody's done a video on it. Even somebody on the reformist left, maybe Humanist Report or Rational National, they even have done a video on this terrible response. But let's listen to VP Harris. And the Democrats control the House, the White House, and the Senate, right? They control all of those. And the plan to get rid of or strike down Roe v. Wade as a constitutional right has been a 50-year plan ever since it was passed. Republicans have been very open about it. Republicans have been very methodical about it. And Democrats have just been sitting in the background eating popcorn as it happens. And now that the problem is on their front doorstep and people are saying, what the fuck are you going to do? This is the response that's coming from the party that you should be exiting.
What do you say to Democratic voters who argue, wait a minute, we worked really hard to elect a Democratic president and vice president, Democratic-led House, a Democratic-led Senate. Do it now.
But do what now? What now? I mean, listen, what we did, we extended the child tax credit for the first year.
Well, I'm sorry, when I say do what, do it now.
Yeah.
Act legislatively to make.
Now, do you believe that Kamala Harris did not understand the question? Or do you believe she's pivoting because she doesn't have a answer for that question, but now I'm going to tell you all the shit I'm doing? Do what? It's that response that she has that makes her terrible. You can see, because she can't stop her. I don't even know what to call it. It gives a sense of arrogance, a sense of I'm better than you, a sense of how dare you even ask me any questions. It's that sort of arrogance that you get from her, and she clearly has been trained, has been working on not having those sort of reactions, but it's something she can't stop. It's a tell. When her first, and then she'll go into her, okay, now I practice this shit, now let me get back in line. But the first response is the response. The first response we see from her is the response that we hear about her in the background. When all of her people start leaving her, like her her chief of staff and everybody started leaving, and then you're hearing reports about how she's a tyrant in the background. Those are glimpses of it. So let me rewind it again, and you can see her do what? Now, does that sound like a person who's there to help you? Does that sound like a person who's there to attend to your needs? Do what? Like who responds that way? Let's listen again.
Do it now.
But do what now? What now? I mean, we need.
You see that moving? That's that she's very uncomfortable with people challenging her. She's very uncomfortable with that. And you know who's uncomfortable with everybody challenging them? Because we've seen this in so many videos. You know who's uncomfortable with that? People who think they're better than you. People who think they're smarter than you. People who think, let me rephrase that. People who think they're better than everybody else. People who think they're smarter than everybody else. That's who does that. How dare you question me? I'm this. I'm the VP. Let's continue with this video. Then we're going to move on.
Listen, what we did, we extended the child tax credit for the first year.
I'm sorry, when I say do what,
Yeah.
do it now.
Yeah.
Act legislatively to make abortion rights legal.
We feel the same way. Do it now. Congress needs to do it now in terms of permanently putting in place a
You see? Now, Dana Bash is interviewing Kamala Harris, not Congress. There aren't, 30 some odd members of Congress that she's interviewing. She's interviewing you. Kamala Harris knows exactly what she's asking and what she's getting to. But Kamala Harris is here to dodge because she's ill-equipped to handle questions other than softball questions. So let's listen to the rest of this.
a clear indication that it is the law of the land that women have the ability and the right to make decisions about their reproductive care, and the government does not have the right to make those decisions for a woman.
What do you say to Democrats?
Now, there is another clip, I'm going to get to that later, where they talk about, what about having it on federal lands? Crickets. What about the filibuster? Well, we don't have the votes for filibuster. What do you mean you don't have the votes? You have 50 Democrats, right? Yeah, but two of the Democrats are not actually Democrats. They're actually Republican plants in our party. So we don't have the votes. You're telling me you can't whip 2 votes? You're telling me 2 people is keeping you from doing voting rights, which you say is imperative. You won't do it for $15 minimum wage. And look at everybody who's heard Joe Biden say, "Oh, we should do a carve out for the filibuster." It's easy to say that when you know you don't have the votes. He said that for voting rights. If you didn't know, he said the same thing for voting rights. Has voting rights been passed? Has it? These people are a joke. I don't understand anybody. Actually, I'm not going to say it that way. For those that are still engaged, I'm happy you're here, and I'm here to convince you it's time for to leave the Democratic Party. So let's go to the next video I have here in preparation for this. Now, that's a good start. Believe me, I have tons of videos to go through here, and it's too many. Like I know I'm not going to get to 17 videos to prove the case that these people need to be, or that we need to be exiting the Democratic Party. But let's just go down the line. So we're going to go ahead and go to the Breakfast Club video where Charlemagne the God, there's actually could be a couple of Charlemagne the God videos where they're talking about the Democratic party being a failure. So we're gonna play this one first. Oops. Hang on a second, everybody. Let me get the link and post it here. Okay, so let's post it here. Okay. All right. So, like I said, I think this is Donkey of the Day. If you know the show, they do like Donkey of the Day for like the person of the worst person. And guess who got it? I think Joe Biden or the entire Democratic Party. So people are waking up. Everybody is seeing that the Democratic Party is a bunch of bullshit.
Donkey of the day.
Hey, Donkey of the Day for Thursday, January 20th goes to the 46th President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
Now, this is for voting rights. And then they have another video for Roe versus Wade. So I think we're just going to cover one, or we're going to have time to cover one of his videos. So let's listen to this one.
As well as Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema and West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. These three are collectively responsible for the death of the Democratic Party.
That's literally the face that represents the entirety of his presidency. That's the look. That's the look of the people who voted for him. That's the look of the people who didn't vote for him. That's the look of Republicans. That's the look of Joe Biden. That's the look of Kamala Harris. That's the look that represents the Joe Biden administration.
Party as we know it. Okay, Joe Biden and other Democrats love to run around and say, we have to go out there and vote like democracy depends on it. People are asking if we are witnessing the death of democracy in America. Well, guess what?
So tell me this. We're witnessing the death of democracy. We're on the outskirts of ending democracy. Because they're trying to get us to come out and vote. So they're turning up the heat. But when we say, okay, what about the filibuster? Oh, hold on. We have to understand that the filibuster is a key tool that the ruling class uses to not do anything for the people. That is the number one tool that is used. So that if 55 Democrats get in there, you can't do anything. You still need 60. When's the last time? How many times? Let's put it this way. How many times in 50 years have they had 60 senators? Either party. I think it's happened once or twice. Obama had it, and they didn't ran through a bunch of things. There was no public option. That should have been a key sign. How is Obama, who don't need any Democratic votes, Republican votes to pass this health care, why aren't you doing Medicare for all, one? And then two, how are you not doing a public option? You got Democrats in California, out here in California, that's stopping Medicare for all. But we want to cling to the Democratic Party, but we think that electing progressives is all that needs to happen? Really? Okay. Let's continue with Charlemagne the God. I got another video to address that point. So when we get to that, I'm going to revisit that.
But if it is, which I believe it is, for some of us, these three are to blame. Simple as that. Okay, if you haven't heard, last night Democrats came up short on a last-ditch Hail Mary type of effort to advance the voting rights bill. Let me tell you something. You all know that your Uncle Charla is a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, okay? And shut up. And I really thought that Sunday night watching my Dallas Cowboys down 23-17 with 14 seconds left in the game and Dak Prescott running a draw play from the 41-yard line instead of maybe getting one or possibly two shots at the end zone off. I thought that was going to be the dumbest finish I would see this week. But President Biden said, hold my prune juice. All right. Now I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. Since last summer, 19 states have enacted 33 laws that will make it hard for Americans to vote. By Americans, I mean niggas, all right? The blacks, all right? All these GOP-sponsored state laws will suppress turnout by minority voters. This is an old tune, ladies and gentlemen, all right? Voter suppression by the GOP against black people is the greatest hit, all right? A golden oldie. Kids, trust me, it would break all screaming records. It is the Ed Sheeran shape of you of American politics, all right? President Biden knew that going in. And after the attempted coup of this country on January 6th, that should have been his first order of business, protecting voting rights. I've told y'all so many different times on this here radio and on other
But
platforms.
instead, even the first thing they said, soon as if you elect this person and we get the Senate, soon as we get to Washington D.C., $2,000 checks. That never came. Then I think what was it? The first thing, impeachment. That was the priority. You know how many other priorities they had besides voting rights for the community that put you in the White House? A bunch of other shit. So let's actually, I think I'm going to move off because I think I want to come back to his other video, so I don't want to overdo Charlemagne. But you get the gist. Actually, let me see if there's another point.
Platforms on TV and everything else. There's 3 or 4 things Joe Biden had to do to protect.
Okay, yeah, let's listen to this part here.
And I'll give you 3. 1, prosecute everyone involved in the attempted coup of this country to the highest extent of the law, not just the members of Vanilla ISIS who stormed the Capitol, but the members of Congress who helped them. 2,
let me address that part. Oligarchs, ruling class, they're not going to persecute their own. That's not going to happen. There's a commercial, so I'll let it play. That's not going to happen. Donald Trump is never going to jail. Mark Meadows is never going to jail. None of these people are ever going to jail. You have to understand, if Democrats say, hey, we're putting you in jail for this, they're going to be putting in jail for the same shit. So that's never going to happen. But they've gotten people to believe that's what's going to happen with things like the January 6th committee hearings. They've gotten people to believe this hearing, just like they got people to believe the investigation by Robert Mueller was going to lead to somebody going to prison. It's not. It is not.
But guess what? None of those things have happened. Okay. I never understood why anyone thought it would. I mean, if you have the GOP passing, 33 laws in 19 states in support of voter suppression, why would anyone in their right mind think that you could work with any of those people to pass voter rights legislation? It makes no sense. Republican politicians are the epitome.
We ask this question all the time. Why do you keep reaching out? We asked this question during the first part of the Obama administration. You have enough votes. Why are you reaching out when you're crafting Obamacare? Why are you reaching out to Republicans? You have enough votes with Democrats. And not a single Republican in the Senate or House voted for it, yet you included some of their shit. What sense does that make? Isn't that telling you that they want Republican input because they are identical or like the Republicans? They can't go too far. They have to have somebody stopping them, and that's what the filibuster is, the emergency stop. That's the emergency break. Why they don't want to get rid of it. The filibuster is undemocratic. The Senate is undemocratic. The electing the president is undemocratic. How are we called a democracy when all of this is not even democratic? So let's continue. Actually, no. Let me bring up this other video here. So Charlemagne the God is talking about voting rights, Joe Biden. Now, I'm not a voting rights person with this particular bill because what's the sense in getting voting rights in a corrupt duopoly? It makes no sense to me. But I'm saying for the people who want this, like him and other people in the Black community and other disenfranchised communities, that's one disappointment. So let's go to, I don't even remember. I see the title here, but I don't remember whose video this is. So let me pull it up first before I say what it is. So let's change this. That's Charlemagne the God. If we have time, we're going to get, oops. Hold on a second. Yeah. Good Lord. Okay, so I'm hearing a commercial in my ear. That's why I'm making that sound. YouTube is in another screen. I have something up. I'm hearing it. These people are just shameless selling shit. Giannis, all right, so let's go ahead and cover this. The Giannis story. They've sold out. Like this is just they sell everything. This is the Giannis story. The Greek freak, even though he's African. Like that?
Biden defended his first year in office. One of his major priorities stalled.
On this vote, the ayes are 52, the nays are 48.
With voting
Did you hear that guy? Is he about to die? Like, look at this shit. I just noticed.
48 with voting rights blocked in the Senate. Major priorities.
This is another issue. We have all these 80-year-olds running the country. 80. Do you understand? If you're in your 70s and 80s, that means you grew up. You grew up when it was okay to have segregation. Your parents, if you are white, could have been racist and indoctrinating you into racism. All of those people are in Congress. The Dianne Feinsteins, the Grassleys, the matriarch of corruption, Pelosi. But listen how feeble, like this guy sounds like he's literally about to drop dead as he's speaking.
On this vote, the ayes are 52, the nays are 48.
With voting rights blocked in the Senate by all 50 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Just hours after the president's one-year news conference where he detailed his handling of the COVID.
You like how they try to always insert Republicans? Republicans are not going to be on this shit. So stop acting like, oh, 50 Republicans, two Democrats made that fail. Because the Republicans, we already know is not going to vote for it. We can't let the Democrats off the hook. We can't let the Republicans off the hook. They're not voting for your shit, just like you're not voting for their shit.
COVID crisis. Amid criticism, he did not ramp up testing sooner.
Should we have done more testing earlier? Yes. But we're doing more now.
Casting his management of the pandemic as a work.
You know, I remember receiving those tests. We received tests literally, it was like weeks after that surge. Like when the surge is going down, now we're getting the test. But that's essentially a description of the Joe Biden administration. He's always way late to the party. He's way late with his answers, just like with Roe v. Wade. Democrats are way late. They've been telling you this for 50 years, and you didn't hear it until year number 51?
Work in progress.
I call it a job not yet finished. It will get better. We're moving toward a time when COVID-19 won't disrupt our daily lives.
On his ambitious legislative agenda, the president insists he's made enormous progress, touting job growth and trillions of dollars for COVID relief and infrastructure, while other priorities like his Build Back Better plan have stalled, despite Democrats' control of Congress.
Can you think of any other president's done as much in 1 year?
But to save one of his signature proposals, the president says he'll scale back his social.
How is it possible that every president is able to say that? Literally, I remember George Bush saying that. Of course, Donald Trump said that. Not sure I heard Obama because he's the type, I don't want to make it seem I'm arrogant. That fucker is arrogant as fuck. But he is smart enough to say, I need to at least come off as something else.
Social spending bill, conceding the child tax credit may be out, blaming Republicans for
the child tax credit is out. I remember an Anna Kasparian video from TYT where she was going off. Like, why are you even vote for this bill? Child tax credit out. This out. This out. But progressives still voted for that bullshit. Let's continue.
For their resistance.
Think about this. What are Republicans for? What are they for?
This bullshit game, we have to stop letting Democrats, their strategists and corporate media use this particular point of what about Republicans? They're not on your team. Don't expect them to vote for your shit. So we're supposed to hop over the 2 people on your team who torpedoed all of this legislation and go to the 50 other people. That's what you're saying. To skip over these other 2 on my team that could have got us over the finish line, and let's go over here to the opposite team who don't want none of this shit that I'm trying to do. It's ridiculous. Stop letting them do that to you.
For. Name me one thing they're for.
With the voting rights push hitting a dead end, President Biden was asked whether this year's midterms would be fairly conducted and legitimate after many Republican-led states enacted new voting restrictions.
It all depends on whether or not we're able to make the case to the American people that some of this is being set up to try to alter the outcome of the election.
And
this is a great point. What are you for? We would have to ask it differently to Democrats, maybe. Because remember, Democrats love to project who they aren't, because they know their base likes the things that they aren't. So if you were to ask them the question, what are you for? Well, I'm for, because Joe Biden would say, I'm for $15 minimum wage. Joe Biden would say, I'm for $15 minimum wage. This is the reason why I would have to say, we would have to phrase it a different way for Democrats. It would be like, what are you willing to get rid of the filibuster for? Maybe that's a better question for them. Because that's going to tell you how much they believe of the same fear-mongering that they're trying to get us to believe about democracy's ending. Democracy's been in hospice care for several decades, if not scores of years. Okay? It's been in hospice care for a long time. Let's continue with the video here.
NBC's Kristen Welker pressing the president about the frustrations of some black supporters upset he has not delivered on voting rights.
I've had their back. I've had their back my entire career.
He's had our back his entire career. Does the 1994 crime bill count as having our backs? You fucking piece of shit. Because I know several people still in jail because of your 1994 crime bill. And when I was in Twin Towers for something else, I was in Twin Towers getting checked in. People there, oh, I'm here for murder 1. I'm here for this. I'm here for that. All my strike 3. I remember distinctly people always talking about strike 3. And that was like in California, strike 3, you're out. You're going sentence for life if you've committed three crimes. Yes. So your third crime, they could introduce evidence for your first and second crime that was years before that as part of this evidence to get you convicted so you can have a third strike. So when I was in Twin Towers, which is the name of one of the jail facilities in LA County, is Twin Towers because there's 2 tall buildings and they're right next to each other. So they call them Twin Towers is what it's called. When I was in there, there were several people in there because of the 1994 crime bill. And it was sad to hear the stories. Like young people, men, realizing they're never leaving the facility. Over drugs, over something else other than murder, they're never leaving the facility. And you're in your 20s. Is that having our back, Joe Biden? You've had the black communities. So when you gave the eulogy for the segregationists, was that having our back? What about Charlemagne the God, that interview? You ain't black unless you vote for it. So is that how you defined it? You only define having our backs as the blacks that you define are black. Is that how you're able to say that sentence with a straight face? Because you're only talking about the blacks that you define as black. Got a couple of super chats. Let's get to those before so that I don't remember, so I don't forget. Biden has had a knife in our backs. That is a more accurate description. And thank you, Martin Hernandez. First time I've seen a super chat or even a comment from you. So thank you for being here. Biden has had a knife in our backs for decades, and that is a way more accurate description of Biden's relationship or our relationship to Biden than what he's described in this video. The next super chat. The way Biden acts now about progressive policies, it shows he doesn't actually want to do them. That is another great point. The Traveler, thank you for your super chat. I believe, I don't think I saw any others. But I will get to some more comments in just a moment. Let's listen to a little more of this POS.
Upset he has not delivered on voting rights.
I've had their back. I've had their back my entire career.
What does having our back mean? Because that's what we have to discuss. Because I think he would say having our back is just simply saying, I have your back. That is literally the threshold. Him saying, I have your back means he has our back. It doesn't have to show any history of doing anything to have our back. He can just say it.
I've never not had their back.
And asked whether he's satisfied with Vice President Harris's leadership on voting rights and whether she'll be his running mate in 2024.
Yes and yes.
Still, a new NBC News poll.
That guy's not running in 2024. Do you think he's running in 2024? I don't see how he's going to be standing up against Trump. I don't see how. And what are those debates? They're clearly going to have a different debate, different style of debate than before. So let's go to how the Democratic Party is losing black voters. So let's go to the next video in our case to exit the Democratic Party. So oops, I do that all the time. There we go. Sorry about that commercial. All right, so let's do this next one now. This is I think this is Al Sharpton. We got some free giveaways. Oh no, this is a different one. This is a better one. Okay, now I remember what this one is. So this young black man came out and helped the Democrats get elected, Joe Biden get elected. He never voted before. He came, was like, no, I want to do this. I'm really put his shit on the line, did work, and nothing. And let's listen to his reaction. Now, remember, this is a person who voted for Biden and wanted him to win and went out and got black people to vote for him. Listen to what he's thinking of Joe Biden today. Oops. It's muted. Let's unmute it.
So we got some free giveaways.
Jasiri X helped turn out the vote for President Biden in 2020. But now
you have a lot of black people that feel like we sacrificed a lot to make sure this administration came in, and we haven't collectively reaped the benefits.
The Pittsburgh activist says Biden has failed to deliver on his promises.
There's been a direct attack on our voting rights. That hasn't been addressed, right? We did all of this organizing around police reform, but like the opposite has happened. It's almost like we're last on the agenda. Right?
A year ago, exit polls showed Biden's approval rating among black voters at 87%. Now it's 63%. But ahead of the midterms, Biden and Democrats will need to convince voters like Farouk al-Sahid to turn out. Al-Sahid voted for the first time in 2020.
Democrats haven't done anything to improve my black quality of life in the States. We might just have to sit this one out.
Jamie Harrison, chair of the Democratic National Committee, said the Biden administration has taken a number of steps, like providing funding for Black-owned businesses and historically Black colleges and universities.
What do you say to Black voters who say that President Biden hasn't delivered on a lot of the promises he made on the campaign trail?
I like to tell folks, Rome wasn't built in a day. We particularly want to do more.
First off, this is a lobbyist and he's terrible. That's the first thing. And secondly, Rome wasn't built in the day. No one's asking you to build Rome in a day. the task you have isn't wrong. A better description would be to say, this cardboard box home, how long did that take? Because that's about as much as time as you need. You don't need the time to build Rome for this. You don't. Especially when you're going to lose the majority. So explain to us, all of us Democrats, and you lobbyist Democrat who is now the chair of something, tell us how you're going to do that. Right. Let's listen. I was reading that comment. Sorry.
But we got to have more votes in the United States Senate in order to do it.
Maya Campbell agrees. The Philadelphia resident is eager to have her student loans forgiven.
They got to have more people. Everybody? That's all. You got them 50 people, but because they're okay with people in their party who's not aligned with what they project to be, we're in this predicament. Because 50 should be enough. But because you're okay with people like Henry Cuellar, you're okay with people like Kristen Sinema, you're okay with people like Joe Manchin, we're in this predicament where we have to produce more Democrats for your fucking ass just so you can do anything. So I'm going to slightly rewind this. This guy is terrible. I'm just saying. A Democratic National Committee chair. Corrupt.
We particularly want to do more, but we got to have more votes in the United States Senate in order to do it.
They want to do it. They just need more votes. How many more votes you need? So let's go through this. They need 60 people to say yes. Let's say it that way. So we can't. So if Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin are still there, that means they need 62 people. When is the last time any party had 62 senators in the Senate? You see how they're telling us without telling us directly that they don't have any plans on doing anything. Because let's say we elect 5 more. So now you're at 57. Is that enough? No. Still not enough. So let's continue.
Maya Campbell agrees. The Philadelphia resident is eager to have her student loans forgiven.
But I think he needs more time to really make real change. I love that he's putting a lot of particularly African-American women in position.
If you don't... Nothing in media is done randomly. So let me say that again. Nothing in media is done randomly. So there is a specific reason they have one, Yalmis Alcindor, I think that's how you say her name, in doing the interview, during this story, Democrats losing support, okay? And then a black female saying the things she's saying, because they can't have black females leave. Black males, they've already lost. Black males have been leaving this Democratic Party a while back. This is speaking directly to black women because they know they can't lose them. So they're going to have a black woman saying all the things they want black women to still be saying, even though they're not delivering on anything.
Still, black voters like Will Mega say Democrats need to get much more aggressive.
What would you say to President Biden if you could speak with him?
I would say, Mr. President, we delivered for you. It's time for you to deliver for us.
A direct message from the voters that Democrats will have to win back before the midterms. Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News.
So that's Yalmiche. I'm going to bring up another video really quickly since I already have this done. All of these other ones are pretty short. Oh, actually, let's do something else and then we'll come back on this. So now I'm not for the George Floyd Act, right? So I'm not for that, but let's cover it because there are people for it, and this is another failure by the Democratic Party. So this one is, hang on a second, it looks like a commercial.
And
here.
then
Let's wait for it to open here. The George Floyd Act. So let's listen to another disappointment from the Joe Biden administration and the Democrats who are saying we need to vote more spineless, worthless pieces of shit to their team.
Senator Booker and Congresswoman Karen Bass spent months trying to.
The sight of this guy in the middle just makes me want to vomit. Like, I hate coons more than I hate white supremacists.
To work out a deal with Republican Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina after the House passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act back in March. But after Scott rejected the Democrats' latest scaled-down proposal Tuesday.
I am torturing myself by covering these sons of bitches. But I feel like there needs to be a case. There needs to be a new video that people can type in dim exit and something else comes up that's new. That's setting the case, that's making the case to leave this fucking terrible party. Now, if your reaction to me saying that or anybody saying that, what am I supposed to do? To other Republicans? You're just telling me how conditioned you are in the duopoly because you're not even thinking of all the other choices you have. You only go Republican. Let's continue.
That was apparently the end of the road. I'm joined now by Sharita Tate. Sharita is George Floyd's cousin. She is also president of the George Floyd Foundation. Viewers and listeners on Sirius Satellite Radio might recall that the police reform bill that just collapsed was named after George Floyd. And Sharita, you and I talked after George's death. We talked right after Derek Chauvin was convicted for killing him. You've been very vocal on the issue of police reform. When you heard that negotiations had collapsed, what did you think?
Well, totally disappointed. I mean, we were just extremely disappointed at this point because, as you know, since March, we've been optimistic, that as long as there was some sort of conversation going on that we could get this bill passed. And now we're just at a place where it's like, I feel like the president needs to step in and do what needs to happen to make this law come into play.
You mentioned the president. The White House says that he might have to take executive action on police reform now. Anything specific that you'd like to see the president do?
Just on this point about the Flint water issue, do you know the guy? The charges were dropped. I think he was the governor. The charges was dropped for that guy. Dropped. So it begs the question, like Nick asked this question, well, what is a crime? We have to understand what is a crime and who's defining a crime. Because it's not a crime to kill the planet and the human population. Oil spills, who's in prison for that? People losing their life savings and their homes, who's in prison for that? Who's deciding what's a crime here? But a ticket, don't pay your ticket. Let the fine get too high. You can go to prison. Not prison, you can go to jail for a few days. But you mean to tell me somebody who's responsible for millions of people losing their life savings and homes isn't a criminal?
I don't have anything specific. I just feel like that, we've been very patient as everyone else has watching this process kind of play out. And to just see it come to a screeching halt on yesterday, it just seems at this point, the only way that we can see any real change take place is if the president steps in. So for me, it's just that.
And that guy is not going to step in. So this is just another item here. So we're up to voting rights. We've covered Roe v. Wade being overturned, George Floyd Act. And now we're going to get to $15 minimum wage. We're going to get to all the other things that he has failed to deliver on. So let's not just him, not just Joe Biden, but the entire Democratic Party. So I think that's enough for this video. There is another one. Let's get to some polling here. I'm looking for something in particular, but maybe I'm not gonna find. Oh, maybe I'll look down here. I'm looking for, that's $15 minimum wage. Let's go there. I may have to search some other items here. I thought I had it, but I don't. All right, so let's click on the $15 minimum wage. Be patient with me here. All right, so let's go to this one.
That's quick. You got a strawberry back there? That's chocolate. That's vanilla. Quit playing.
All right, commercial and daughter's in the room getting some stuff, so just talking to her. Okie dokie. So let's listen to them talk about the $15 minimum wage setback. I see one super chat. I'm going to start that and come to actually this. The hypnosphere must be smashed. So Galdo, it has to be $30 minimum wage. I'm going to leave that up as we do this story because that's what it should be. That's what the Amazon workers on Staten Island were asking for when they were, or that's what they will be asking for if they haven't already. So let's listen to this story about how the $15 minimum wage is another setback failure. He has literally 5 times the amount of failures as successes, this president.
Also today, the Biden administration's nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package faces its first full House vote. But in a blow to the Democrats, the bill's proposed minimum wage increase will not be included in that package. NBC's Capitol Hill correspondent Casey Hunt joins us. Casey, walk us through what happened with the minimum wage piece of it.
Of course. Good morning, Savannah. So raising the minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour, it was one of President Biden's key campaign promises, but he's not going to be able to deliver on that promise quite yet. And it comes after a Senate official ruled that raising the minimum wage can't be part of this massive COVID relief package that Congress is debating right now. The Senate parliamentarian says it doesn't meet the complex requirements that would allow Democrats to raise the wage without Republican support.
Do you know what the complex requirement is? Donors saying it's okay to raise the $15 minimum wage. That's the threshold where the parliamentarian will be like, okay, let's do this. The parliamentarian is yet another layer of bureaucracy to stop anything happening for the proletariat. So you have the filibuster and you have the Senate parliamentarian. Now, this person is appointed. This person is an advisor, similar to like having an advisor on the military advisor, economic advisor. They give you their advice, you take it or you don't. Same thing.
And getting this done has been...
But if you don't want to do the $15 minimum wage, you take the advice and say, see, it's them. They're saying we can't do it. They're saying that we can't do it. It's not me because I want it. That's what they want to get us to believe.
It's been a huge priority for progressive Democrats. They argue it would lift so many people out of poverty. But this decision means that it's much less likely the minimum wage will go up anytime soon. That's because Democrats only control 50 seats in the Senate, and now they would need 60 votes to do it. And many Republicans are opposed to it. They point to a CBO report that says raising the wage to $15 could cost 1.4 million jobs, Savannah.
Yes, but so that's the minimum wage piece of the package. There's still the larger COVID relief bill, including direct payments to people. What's the status of that?
They're racing to get this done by March 14th. That, of course, is this critical date when unemployment insurance.
They're racing. This video's from January. She's talking about March. They're racing. Maybe it's because they're all 80 years old. Maybe that's it. You call it racing with something that's 2 months later? What the fuck do these people do all the fucking day? What do 535 people do? They're on the phone calling donors, raising money. That's what they're doing.
Benefits will expire for so many people. It's a really tough deadline on their calendars. Now, the House is going to pass their version of this bill today. That's the first step. That is going to include the minimum wage increase. But of course, it's then got to go to the Senate, where we're going to have some more back and forth. Again, they're trying to get this all wrapped up early next month, Savannah.
All right, Casey, you know you'll be on it on the Hill. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So yet another failure. Now, let's see here. No, I'm not gonna. It's another video, good video, but let's stay on topic. Is this it? Oh, let's go here. All right, so let's look at some polling now from the Joe Biden administration. I'm going to get back to some of the other points here, but let's go to what are people thinking of this guy? How are they responding to what he's doing, to all of the failures of the Joe Biden administration? Let's see how what Americans think of the job this guy is doing here. So this is the American people judging Joe Biden based off the things he's done.
Let's get to our new CNN poll numbers now, brand new numbers, and you're going to see how inflation and broader doubts about the COVID recovery are dragging down the president's standing. Let's just go first to the threshold number you always focus on in a midterm election year. Do you approve of President Biden's job performance? Well, look at how bad these numbers are for the president. Only 4 in 10 Americans, 40.
Remember when they told us how bad Donald Trump was? Remember that? Remember they said they always talked about Donald Trump's approval ratings being low? This is an identical approval rating of Donald Trump. How is it the Democrats are so much better, but you're getting the same approval rating? And you know why what they're saying? People are just don't know you're doing good shit. If you're doing good shit for Americans, you don't have to tell them. They're going to feel the change. So let's listen to this, and let's listen to the excuse making they make for Joe Biden.
41% at the moment approve of his job performance. Nearly 6 in 10, 58% disapprove. That's a tough number early in a midterm election year for the president of the United States. Now, why is this happening? This is fascinating. We asked people, what has President Biden done for you that you approve of? 56.
Fascinating. That's a unique choice of a word to describe what this is. If this was Donald Trump, do you think he would have used the word fascinating to describe 56% of the country saying Joe Biden has done nothing for them? For him, it's fascinating.
56% of Americans, nearly 6 in 10 Americans. That means a decent amount of Democrats said nothing. They disapprove of everything that has happened. Now, yes, the president would say, we passed the rescue plan. We passed the bipartisan infrastructure plan. It is not sinking in out in America. 56% of Americans say nothing. They disapprove of everything that has happened so far. 15% say the president has helped with the economy. 6% say the coronavirus. You see here personal traits, foreign policy, other issues. But that is a stunning number of the failure to communicate the legitimate successes of the Biden administration.
You see? You see how they threw that in there? They're telling you this is a failure to communicate that you're doing good. Not that you're not doing anything for the vast majority of people. It's that you're not telling them and letting them know you're doing it.
Administration. And without a doubt, the COVID pandemic is dragging the president down. His standing on COVID is underwater. Why? Look at this. 75% of Americans say they are burned out. 60% say they are angry. 58% say they are worried. Half, 49% say they're confused. 47% do say they're optimistic. So as the numbers come down, maybe the president can turn this dynamic. But right now, you just have a burned out, angry country. It's hard for the president to break through, even if things are getting better. And to the inflation and the economy, just look at the line here. The president's approval rating on the economy was 49% back in March. It is down 12 points to 37%. Disapproval on the economy, 44% in March, 62%. That is the toll of inflation right there. The unemployment rate is down. The president did create a record number of jobs. 62% of Americans disapprove of the.
You see, propaganda is like they're not focused. Like what he just said is not a focus of the discussion, but let me let him say it again and then it'll be better described.
The president did create a record number of jobs. 62% of Americans disapprove of inflation right there. The unemployment rate is down. The president did create a record number.
Okay. He's telling you the president has done these things. Even if those things didn't affect you, these are good things that you should be giving them high marks on. The unemployment rate is down. Do we need to talk about how the unemployment rate is a joke? Do we need to talk about how at a certain point, when a person says, I'm stopped looking for work, or it's been that long, they stop counting you as being unemployed. The unemployment rate is always inaccurate because the people in power is trying to do all the tricks they can to get it down the lowest so they can say, look at the unemployment rate, how low it is. So they do things like not count people that aren't working.
Number of jobs. 62% of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of the economy because they are paying more at the grocery store and at the pump every day. Let's bring in to share their reporting and their insights our Chief White House.
Now, this is before the war in the Ukraine. And look where inflation is. I think they said 7.5 or 8.5% at the time of this video. But Joe Biden wants to call it the Putin price hike. The inflation was already here well before any sort of military conflict in the Ukraine with Russia. But they're retelling the story a different way.
House correspondent Caitlin Collins, Alex Burns of the New York Times, and Sungmin Kim of the Washington Post. And Caitlin Collins, to you first. The president and his team had hoped the economic numbers like inflation would get better early in the election year. They had hoped that would then bring his numbers up early in the election year. Not yet.
No, and President Biden told me in December that he thought that was the peak of the crisis when it came to inflation. Yes, it was a bump in the road. Yes, it was painful. He was hoping that they were moving on from it. And of course, these numbers today are worse than economists expected. And so this is a very unpleasant surprise.
That's another thing. How are economists always wrong with these fucking numbers? Why are we calling them economists? Why are we calling them experts if they can't get the shit right multiple times?
For the White House. And I think the challenge for President Biden is they often want to talk about the strong labor market. They want to talk about wage growth, but this completely nullifies it in voters' minds. That's what the polls are showing of their confidence levels in what's going on with the economy. And I think that's the struggle for the White House, because these are things you can't ignore, that your prices of food is going up. rent, electricity, gas. Those are things that people live with and function with every single day.
And it's striking, Sungmin, when you look at it, that 56% say nothing. They
Right.
disapprove of all, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent. They passed the American Rescue Plan.
It's funny you say that, AG, because I'm literally thinking of doing a sports show on RBN. We're going to be expanding content other than politics. And sports and hip hop music will be the two things that I would be able to speak on. So the sports show, I would cover basketball, football, baseball, all the off seasons, of course, for those three sports. I'm trying to think of another sport. Maybe tennis. I don't know enough about hockey to where I would feel comfortable about it. But anyway, that's just a side note. Let's get back to the topic at hand. Dem exit
Plan, which had a lot of help for American families in it. They passed a bipartisan infrastructure plan, which is still just starting to kick in, but that was an enormous big deal. And yet Americans don't feel it yet. Democrats are fighting in Washington, but more of it, I think, is the COVID funk. Look at this in the midterm election year. Do you have a lot of confidence in President Biden's ability to deal with the economy, right? In March, 67% of Democrats did. In his own party, that is down to 44%. Independents, those who have confidence in his ability on the economy, has dropped from 20 to 10. Republicans were never on board, but this number right here, this in a midterm election.
So let's look at
let's
look at this poll. A lot of confidence in Biden's ability to deal with the economy. This is a CNN poll conducted from January to February. Margin of error, 4.1 points. That's the margin of error. This is a CNN SSRS poll. Okay. March now. Democrats, 67%. That's a 23-point decline. That's half a decline in independents. This is big and this is big. It's always been that. So let's continue.
Your own party is starting to have doubts about issue number one. That's a warning sign.
Right. And it's such an indictment because so much of then candidate Joe Biden's pitch to voters in 2020 was his and his team's competence to turn around the pandemic, to shut down the pandemic. And now we're seeing this debate within the White House as to how do you, pivot to a point where we kind of just live with the virus as it exists. And one data point that I found really interesting from the CNN poll was 51% of voters saying they want to learn to live with COVID, 48% saying their highest priority should be spreading or stopping the spread of COVID. And you see that internal debate playing out at the White House kind of in real time, because you have the president, you have his top spokesman saying, we don't think COVID is going to exist in this format for much longer. But
all right, I have some other videos. I think I've gotten what I wanted out of this one. Now let's go to this next one. Now, this is him reacting to how terrible his poll numbers are. Like, he's clueless. George Floyd Act, Voting Rights Act, $2,000 checks, $1,400. I'm missing some. Oh, $15 minimum wage, climate, police reform, everything. Even their own, what they call a spending bill. And it's very funny how they call anything for us a spending bill and everything else is not called a spending bill. Literally. So let's listen. Biden upset at sinking poll numbers, tries to fight inflation. He's upset. Let's listen to Biden being upset.
A crisis about the cost of everyday things. Gas prices hitting another all-time high today. $4.62 for a gallon of regular.
I think it's absolutely disgraceful.
At the White House, a renewed push to acknowledge what Americans are feeling.
We're just in a difficult time right now with this inflation.
In the Oval Office, a rare in-person meeting between the president and the Federal Reserve chairman, who has ratcheted up interest rates, trying to tame inflation.
To discuss my top priority, and that is addressing inflation.
The president also published an opinion piece with his steps to fight inflation. Our recent NBC News poll showed just 33% of Americans approve of the president's handling of the economy. Just paying for
33.
basics like rent is a constant worry for single mother of two, Kiara Age.
Within the next couple of weeks, me and my kids could.
I'm going to come back to Kiara. Don't worry. It was a point they made. I want to look at this 33% here.
Our recent NBC News poll showed just 33% of Americans approve of the president's handling of the economy.
Now, this was conducted in May. May of this year. 33% approve of his handling. 3 out of 10 people.
Just paying for basics like rent is a constant worry for single mother of two, Kiara Age.
Within the next couple of weeks, me and my kids could possibly be on the streets because, you know, the prices of everything keep going up.
Her rent in Nevada just went up 25%.
It's a lot. Like, I try not to get emotional about it, but it's a heavy load to carry.
How this is capitalism is so unsustainable. How is it that prices are going up but wages are going down or staying? You understand? Like this. It's like we're not going to be able to afford none of the shit. Like, this doesn't make any sense. How is rent going up 25%? How is food going up, 100%, 50%? How is this and wages aren't? Like, what does our government expect people to do?
Back at the White House, President Biden has been rattled by his sinking poll numbers and is pressing aides for a more compelling message and sharper strategy to address.
This is literally.
Back at the White House,
I'm wondering if the Biden administration sent NBC News these points.
President Biden has been rattled by.
What the fuck does that mean? Why are they making that such a big thing? Like, they're trying to, he's shaking, like it's affecting him of these poll numbers. It sounds like they're trying to convince the audience of something.
By his sinking poll numbers and is pressing aides for a more compelling message and
a more compelling message. Not to do something more, but a more compelling message.
Sharper strategy to address inflation and improve his political standing. People close to the president tell NBC News. One Democratic lawmaker said the White House has failed to put forward an intellectually honest plan to combat inflation. The president's economic advisor on inflation today.
He's made very clear, and he's communicating very clearly that that's his top economic priority.
What does that mean? It's so funny to me. Like, let me make this very clear. He's made this very clear. Like, and let me be like, why are you doing that? You're saying he very clear to tell me nothing. Let's listen to that again. I mean, it's a pet peeve point, so I won't belabor it. Let's continue.
Lester, advisors also say the president has been concerned that his plain speaking style that he thinks connects with voters has been stifled by aides.
You can be a serious reporter, and this is your reporting. Somebody had to hand you this bullshit. There's no way you did this, is it?
Voters has been stifled by aides. And
the way he talks has been stifled by dementia. The way he talks has been stifled by cognitive decline. No aides did anything to him. It's the freaking Xanax, the medication they have him on to prop him up. Let's move to the next video here. $15 collapse. I did that one. Oh, let's go to the Al Sharpton video here. So Al Sharpton is on NBC. Like that guy, I mean,
Every 15 minutes, someone buys a home with a Redfin agent.
I'm not gonna say nothing bad about this guy. Let's just continue.
More evidence of Joe's political mantra that crazy never wins.
It did, though. I mean, that was my operating theory. Crazy did win.
It seems to be winning a little.
Has been winning a good bit in the Republican Party over the past several years, but I don't know. I think the tide's turning. Let's bring in right now the host of MSNBC's Politics Nation and president of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton. Rev, we were talking about how the Republicans were up 10 points in a generic ballot test some time ago. They're now down by 1. I think that just it doesn't have to do with issues because most of Americans are on the side of Republicans when it comes to issues. I think it has to do with just crazy, absolute crazy. And I say that just so people don't tweet at me that, oh, what do you mean they love what we progressives? No, if you look at this poll, Americans trust Republicans more on inflation. Americans trust Republicans more on the economy. Americans trust Republicans more on foreign policy. And yet their support keeps bleeding, especially from independents, because they get a lot of crazy people that they refuse to call out. But Rev, I want to look at Joe Biden's approval rating. It has gone up from 37 to 42%. That's kind of like, as we like to say around here, that's like being the tallest building in Schenectady. It's okay.
Right, exactly. I was just about to say that's not good. Going from really terrible to a little bit less terrible than really terrible does what? This is his approval numbers. Then, let me see when this was taken here. April. So this is what, 2 months ago? 3 months ago? 2 months since it's just July 1st today. So,
okay, but it's not where it needs to be.
Why is that?
Where it would be if he hadn't lost so much support from black voters. So explain, why has Joe Biden lost 10, 15, 20%?
I'm so hoping that black people are waking up and getting the fuck out this motherfucker. I'm hoping that this is what it is. I know young people under 30, under 25 that are black, they're not down with the Democratic Party. Go on TikTok and see.
Percentage points from black voters in January 21 had an 87% approval rating among black adults.
Let me tell you, this is unsustainable. No Democrat can win anything with 67% of the black vote. They've lost too many white people to do that. This is the black people's leverage that we never use. This is literally, he's going to lose. There's no way for him to lose with 67% of the black vote.
Now he has a 67% approval rating among black adults. And if you want to put that in context, Barack Obama never over 8 years went under 75%. If he were sitting at 75%, his approval rating would likely be closer to 44, 45%. So what's going on there?
I think that what we must put in context is that the unusually high turnout among black voters in support of black voters in 2020 was in the height of the George Floyd movement that all of us were part of, wanting to deal with policing issues, wanting to deal with how we were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic and how it exposed the health deserts in our communities. And all of that drove us to voting for Joe Biden and the Democratic ticket, as well as the offensive nature of the Trump presidency. Now that we have gotten 2 years in, and we did not get the George Floyd bill, largely because of 2 Democrats, Manchin and Sinema. We did not even get the John Lewis voting advancement bill, largely because of the same 2 with the filibuster situation. And we don't have Trump there, which is why if Elon Musk puts Trump back on Twitter, you will start seeing a lot of black voters remembering what hostility we face. I think that the messaging on what Biden has done, and the Biden-Harris team has done some things. I mean, you can't say that what they've done in terms of dealing with the impact of the pandemic in Black communities and working with Black health providers and Black churches and all has not been effective. It has. What they've done in terms of investments in some of our communities, in terms of what they've gotten through with infrastructure, has been good, and it has.
So this is what Al Sharpton is still on MSNBC for, because nobody watches his show. If you didn't know, he used to have a show during a week, Monday through Friday. It's one of the slots in the evening. It was terrible. I watched it. Like, he would slow with reading a teleprompter. It was literally a terrible show, and he didn't get better. So they moved him to the weekend. This is the reason he still has the show, so they can come on, bring on a Black face who has credibility in the Black community or parts of the Black community. He has a Black face, and to come on and say good things. So we've been fed crumbs of crumbs, like not crumbs, the crumbs of crumbs, and you bring Black people on to say how he did something for us. That's his job. As is the job, as you know, Dr. Jason Johnson, as is the job of Don Lemon, as is the job as almost all the Black people they bring on these networks.
And other things, all the way to Ketanji Brown Jackson. But I think that they have not been able to message it well, and they have not gotten trusted messengers out there. So I think
they haven't been able to get the message out that they're doing good. Yeah, because people aren't going to feel the impact of your do-goods, of your good deeds, I should say. They're not going to feel that, right, Joe Biden? Is that what you're saying? Because they're not going to feel these so-called things you're going to do, you have to tell them? It's preposterous. But that's what liberal media keeps saying. It's just that people don't know. That's all. They just don't know. How is it that they don't know? Tell me that. When you say it every day. Let's continue.
I think that a combination of their not having the right messaging machine for what they have done and not being realistic about the expectation of Black voters is what has led to a decline. What is troubling about that is turnout. If you do not have an enthusiastic turnout in the Black community, and again, you got to deal with police issues, you have to deal with voting issues. If you don't have that turnout, you will have a critical problem when it comes to what we see as the new
Did you see the soft push? Did you hear it? You got to deal with this issue, you got to deal with that issue. Instead of explicitly saying, these two things that you didn't get done, these are very problematic, and Black people are not going to come out and vote for this bullshit.
Congress and the new Senate in the midterm elections. Turnout is going to be key in the Black community.
So, Reverend, we know Democrats often have trouble turning out voters in midterms compared to their Republican counterparts. Let's zero in on voting rights. You and I have had this conversation a lot, and we know that it became sort of an existential threat to the party. That's what Joe Biden himself said, that this was the biggest threat to the nation since the Civil War, the idea of taking away voting rights from voters, and namely Democrats, namely minorities, senior citizens, et cetera, in the states. We've seen the Republicans do that, backed by Donald Trump's big lie. Democrats, though they've talked big, don't have anything to show for it yet. And some they have, and that's
Donald Trump's big lie. Let me read this comment here. Please consider mainstream media or corporate stream media and online surrogates, including on IG and all other platforms, are promoting how Democrats are the solution to a problem. That is true. That is true, including Sean King. Sean King. Is that, he's a singer, Sean King? The one, beautiful girls, you only that song, the Jamaican dude? Sean King. Isn't it? Oh no, that's Sean Kingston. That's Sean Kingston. I'm not. including Sean King, dude had AOC for president. I don't think I know who Sean King is. Or maybe, let me see if anybody. Who is Sean King? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe put a link in there. Maybe I'll see what it is. I don't know who Sean King is. But let's continue with this video because he does talk about later not in a few seconds. They're going to talk about. But let me just let them say it instead of describing it.
It's in part because of members of their own party. You and I just talked about right around the Martin Luther King Day holiday that there were civil rights groups who said that if they can't get something done, we're going to stay home in November. Is that what we're starting to see here?
We're starting to see that organically. It doesn't even require civil rights groups, even though some of us have won that. I think organically people are saying if we don't see something, if it's not executive orders, if it's not even more aggressive moves by the Justice Department, then what are we talking about? You said going back to the Civil War, quoting about the Civil War. After the Civil War, the big fight was whether we're going to let blacks vote.
Yep.
We're going to let them be free, but are we really going to let them vote? And we're here, over a century later with the same argument where you are.
It's the same thing. We're here over a century later with the same issue with policing, the same issue with economics, the same issue with black wealth.
Aggressively seeing people doing what they can to limit our vote and to make the impediments that would make it more difficult for us to vote put in place. And there doesn't seem to be the aggressive push on the other side with executive orders and other things that the Justice Department ought to be dramatically doing.
Yeah, they're terrible. So that video there is a couple more videos that I'm going to be getting out of here. I plan to do this an hour and a half. No, that's why I'm kind of moving quickly. Dana Bash, I did. Breakfast Club, I did. Black Votes, did I do that one? I may have to. Oh, yeah, I did do that one. Chuck Schumer talking about rebranding Democrats. Let's go to this one here. So, actually, let me click on it first. Oopsie. All right, so this one is Chuck Schumer. Yeah, this is Chuck Schumer. In this video, some of this video has Chuck Schumer in it. Commercial we got here. This video talks about losing support among black voters. Also, did I click on the right one? Oh shit, I clicked on the wrong one. It's the same video. So hang on a second. Let me get the right one here. Or actually, no, this is a different one. Is this a different one? Oh no, this is the same one. Sorry, everybody. I clicked on the wrong one. This is the one I meant to click. All right, so here we go. This video now will be Chuck Schumer rebranding the Democratic Party. Amy Goodman. $1 billion mistake. Democrats neglect people of color while failing to woo white Trump voters. So let's listen to this Democracy Now! Short clip here.
DemocracyNow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
We turn now to the future of the Democratic Party. Last week in Virginia, party leaders unveiled their new slogan, A Better Deal, and rolled out an agenda to win back the working class voters they lost to President Donald Trump in November. This is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
When you lose elections, as we did in 2014 and 2016, you don't flinch. You don't blink. You look in the mirror and ask, what did we do wrong?
They're just telling us that. This is a terrible cycle we're in here. They're just telling us nonsense.
The number one thing we did wrong is not present a strong, bold economic agenda to working Americans so that their hope for the future might return again. Democrats have too often hesitated from directly and unflinchingly taking on the misguided policies that got us here. So much so that too many Americans don't know what we stand for. Not after today. President Trump campaigned on a populist platform, talking to working people. That's why he won. But as soon as he got into office, he abandoned them, making a lot.
Now, I'm going to rewind this part here. You tell me, substitute Donald Trump or Trump for Biden, and you tell me it's not a true statement.
President Trump campaigned on a populist platform.
Did he campaign on a populist platform? $15 minimum wage was part of that.
Talking to working people. That's why he won. But as soon as he got into office, he abandoned them.
As soon as Joe Biden got into office, he abandoned the working class.
Making alliance with the powerful.
Making alliances with the powerful.
Special interest. Koch-brother-dominated hard.
Use any other donor. Not Koch brother donated. Hard right wing of the Republican Party. That is absolutely true. And that applies to Donald Trump.
Right wing of the Republican
Joe
Party,
Biden.
Which appeals to the very wealthy, not the working people.
Which appeals to the very wealthy, not the working people. You tell me how that statement doesn't apply to Joe Biden.
Leaving a vacuum on economic issues.
Leaving a vacuum. Like literally, he's talking about Joe Biden.
We Democrats are going to fill that vacuum. Democrats will show the country we are the party on the side of working people. American families deserve a better deal. So this country works for everyone again, not just the elites.
You can almost see Akeem Jeffries in the background with a smirk like, we're not doing none of that shit, Chucky.
American
Look at the smirk of this fucker in the back.
So this country works for everyone again, not just the elites, not just the special interests. Today,
he's thinking like, I know plenty of special interests, and I'm going to lunch with them right after this, Chuck.
Start presenting that better deal to the American people.
Look at am I stretching this? Or is it me? Or does it look like he is holding in a smirk? Like, Chucky, you're doing some good propaganda right here, Chucky. I wonder, do they pat each other on the back when they go to the back rooms and say, wow, that was a good performance? I wonder, do they do that?
The Democratic Party's rebranding effort comes as the party has lost all 4 special congressional elections.
This is how they're rebranding. Reading poems and blowing up fucking pictures. It's never to actually do anything. It is just to present the same turd with some other shell. A nice shell. That's all they're about. Let's figure out what new shell we can put this complete pile of shit in to sell to the American people. That's literally all they do. How to repackage shit.
This year to Republicans, including most recently in South Carolina and Georgia. These defeats come despite President Trump's approval rating dipping to 36% as he passed the 6-month mark of his presidency. That's the lowest 6-month approval rating of a U.S. president in 70 years.
Well, let's see. Let me hear him say that again. Hold on now. Let's listen.
Trump's approval rating dipping to 36% as he passed the 6-month mark of his presidency. That's the lowest 6-month approval rating of a U.S. president in 70 years.
Well, not anymore. Because Joe Biden's approval rating got down. I can't remember the name of the poll, but it got down to either 33%. I think it was 33 because the story was it's exactly the same as Trump. So now that record is Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Now both of them hold that record. Now let me go to another couple of videos here. All right, so these ones I have in a different place. Bear with me, everybody. Oh, it's on this side. My bad. Okay, so watch later. Hang on here. There was I may be able to stretch this other video. There was here it goes. Here we go. Oh, I'm glad I went here. Glad I went here. So let's there's a couple of videos that I had bookmarked here that weren't originally going to be a part of the presentation, but I feel like I do want to present a couple of more items here in the case to exit the Democratic Party. Is this it? You know what? I'm just going to have to click it and go from there. The hell? There we go. All right, 1 second. Oh, so this one is.
I can see some of the same.
Like, so I'm gonna play like a minute and a half of this next one. This next one is. This next one is just to sort of drive home the point of how the Democratic Party cannot be reformed. The Progressive Party won't have a success trying to, or the progressives won't have success trying to take them over. So let's go to this video. This hair, I'm letting this hair grow in. It's really itchy for
Bernie
me.
Sanders' winning streak.
So let's listen to this. Now, this is before the Scarboroughs. I think he's married to Mika, right? The Scarboroughs, or Mika and Joe, was on the Joe Biden train so heavily. So let's listen to how they describe what's going on.
Bernie Sanders' winning streak continued over the weekend with a victory in the Wyoming caucuses on Saturday. Sanders beat Hillary Clinton by 12 points, 56-44, notching his 8th win in the last 9 nominating contests.
Okay, what do we do here?
I mean, it sounds like he's winning.
He's won 8 out of 9. Yep.
But he's
Here,
losing.
and look, he wins by 12 points. I tell you, I would not do well as a Democratic politician. He wins by 12 points. He may not even pick up a single delegate.
Yeah.
It's 7-6 now, with a remaining delegate to be decided later. I'm sorry. That's a crushing victory.
I know. And listen, I think that with the super delegates that they have, I think she only has to win 30% of the, you know, has to get 30% of the vote in the remaining contest. I mean, talk about voters feeling like a system might be rigged. Why are you even voting?
If you're driving
in
a
Wyoming?
car right now, we've been talking about rigged systems. We're putting up right now a graphic. Bernie Sanders wins 56-44% in Wyoming. The delegates rewarded: Hillary Clinton 11, Bernie Sanders 7. Why does the Democratic Party even have voting booths?
Why does the Democratic Party even have voting booths? And you heard her even mention, with the super delegates who were already pledged to HRC, Hillary Clinton, she only needed to win like 30% of the races. And Joe Scarborough is like, how the fuck is this happening? It sounds like he's winning, but he's losing. The Democratic Party primary process is more corrupt than the Republican Party primary process. Ever heard of superdelegates? Republicans don't have that bullshit. So they rig the elections to get the terrible people they want in that's not going to do anything. And you think we can reform that? You think you can reform this? You think you're going to get enough progressives in? Look at how they have this slanted here. Let's listen to more.
No, why?
This system is so rigged.
It feels that way. And I think, they fall into line better than our voters do, but I can see some of the same emotions boiling over at their convention.
But we always talk.
it seems like a rigged system. This is Joe Scarborough. This is Nicole Wallace saying this. Both who are now anchors, or she is now an anchor. He was one at that time too. On the same network. You can't reform rigged. You can't. Sanders still faced steep climb after string of wins. How is that possible unless it's rigged? You should exit the Democratic Party. Like, there's no other way to say it. You should exit the Democratic Party. Let's go to the next video now. Winding this down here.
But I can see some of the same emotions boiling over at their convention.
But we always talk about voter turnout and how important it is to do your duty as a citizen. There's absolutely no reason any of those people
there we
voted
go.
in any of those states,
I mean,
right?
What's the justification?
Please, someone tell me.
These are the rules.
No, that's not a good answer. Tell me why those people needed to go vote. Because
Their
votes don't matter.
It turned out it's not rigged.
Do their votes matter, Mark
Yeah, they
Albrecht?
do.
Do they count in some way?
Where you turn it?
It's not rigged. Yes, it is.
Only in some parts of the
I
country.
don't
the hell
know
do
it's system, but
I
it's not
get
like
rid of this?
By 12%.
Okay,
Democracy now
maybe
got
this will
cool.
work now. That wasn't working. All right, so let's now go to the next video. I'm trying to do this quickly here. So their sub anchors were having pushback. The words you're using, that's inflammatory. It's rigged. It is rigged. The next video is, let's play my video. So this is the video that I made. Oops. Is this it? Yeah, what's going on here? It's taking a while to of you. Actually, so let's listen to my video about exiting the Democratic Party.
Human being, you should exit the If you're a living, breathing human being, you should exit the Democratic Party. Let's deconstruct that next on the Populist Voice. If you're a living, breathing human being, you should exit the Democratic Party today. They're no longer representative of you. Actually, they haven't been representative of you for a long time, but the charade that they used to put up is gone. They're no longer even pretending to represent you. So I'm talking about working class. I'm talking about the poor. I'm talking about urban people of color. I'm talking about rural whites. They're no longer representing you. Why keep giving them your vote? Why keep having the allegiance to this party that does not care about you? Urban people of color, rural whites, your schools are underfunded. Your cities and towns are underfunded. What have voting for the Democratic Party done for you? The poor, the working class. Do you think the Democratic Party is going to get you a living wage? You think they're going to bring back unions? It's time to exit the Democratic Party. If you're a person who believes that women should be believed, sexual assault victims, why are you supporting the Democratic Party? How is the Democratic Party any different than the Republican Party? They're not. You have Joe Biden, a sexual predator, and you have Donald Trump, a sexual predator. They're the same. One big shift that has recently happened with the Democratic Party is the National Chamber of Commerce has now switched their allegiance, their longtime allegiance from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. So they are effectively saying, we're fine with Joe Biden. We're fine with Kamala Harris. We're fine with Nancy Pelosi. We're fine with Chuck Schumer. If the National Chamber of Commerce is fine with the Democratic Party, that means the Democratic Party is not going to be representative of you. It's a conflict of interest for the National Chamber of Commerce to have a living wage, to have Medicare for all, to implement the Green New Deal. It's a conflict of interest financially for them. And they're the ones that's backing the Democratic Party. You have Michael Bloomberg, who's backing the Democratic Party. What do you think he's going to ask for? He's been an opponent of raising the minimum wage for a long time. And he's one of their big backers. It's time to exit.
And that is probably one of the key reasons we don't have a $15 minimum wage. That Senate parliamentarian is really Michael Bloomberg. That's who put a stop to that bullshit. And I don't know if it's this video or a different video I did where I point this out. I'm the $15 minimum wage is never going to happen with Michael Bloomberg donating money to the Democratic Party. It's not going to happen.
Exit the Democratic Party. They do not represent you. Stop voting against your own interest. And for Black folks, we're asking for defunding the police. We're asking for ending qualified immunity. We're asking for police accountability. Do you think the Democratic Party and Joe Biden is going to do any of that?
Hell the fuck no. And I'm going to end that video there because there is one more I want to play before I get out of here. And I got to get out of here very, very soon. So let's get to... Got to see it to remember what it is here. Is it the Ellie video? Yeah, I even have a video of Nina Turner thinking about leaving the Democratic Party. Let me play this video. This is not the one I was looking for, but this is a very interesting video. Let's listen Republican to Party. This is a very famous, or if not the famous, most famous sports commentator in the United States, Stephen A. Smith. The highest paid on TV, Stephen A. Smith. He comes on CNN. I don't know what's prompted him to come on. But here is him talking about leaving the Democratic Party.
Stephen A. said that every Black person in America should vote Republican for at least one election. Stephen A. Smith is joining me now. Stephen, who are you trying to send a message to? Republicans, Democrats, African Americans, all of the above?
I'd go with all of the above. That sounds about right. But specifically the Democratic Party, from the standpoint that I definitely believe that the Black vote has been taken for granted. And primarily the Black community is at fault, in my estimation, in that regard, simply because.
For those that don't know him, I know you might read Stephen. He doesn't pronounce it that way. It's Stephen A. Smith. The only person that can call him Stephen is his mom, is what he says.
On one hand, we're giving one party our vote because they've successfully gone about the business of convincing our community that the other party, the Republican Party, is completely against the interest of the Black community. And as a result, we've been very transparent in our support. We've bought it hook, line, and sinker. We look at the Republican Party. I'm not talking about every single one of us, of course, but vast majority of Black Americans look at the Republican Party as the enemy. We look at the Democratic Party, even tacitly, as our support base. And as a result, we are very transparent in our support for them. So because of it, they have a license to take us for granted. The Republican Party has a license to summarily dismiss us because they believe they'll never get our vote anyway. And then we end up finding ourselves devoid of any kind of representation whatsoever because nobody is really competing to garner our vote and our support. So I said what I said because I wanted folks in my community to stand up and recognize that if you go to a house or you go buy a car or whatever the case may be,
Yeah,
you don't just see something you want.
So it's saying black people should vote. He's saying it's as a strategy. So whether it's I would say vote for the Green Party. He's not saying you're voting for the Republican Party because you want them. He's saying it's the strategy to get the parties to pay attention to you. It's specifically the Democratic Party. So he's not saying vote for them because you believe their thing. So I agree with one of the comments. They say, why not just vote for somebody else other than that's what I agree. But if you're a person who only understands red, blue, that's why he's saying this instead of saying vote. But he's just simply saying you need to not vote for them for a couple of cycles in order for them to really want to do something for your community. That is what he's saying in this video here. And I saw another comment. Yeah, he is absolutely annoying in football and sports when you're talking. He's absolutely annoying most times. I'm not going to say all the time. Now, here's another person. This one's an actor. Isaiah Thomas. Some people may have issues with him, but let's listen at least to another black person discuss the
Bernie Sanders' winning streak continued over the weekend with a victory in the Wyoming caucuses on Saturday. Sanders beat Hillary Clinton by 12 points, 56-44, notching his 8th win.
I don't know what the hell just happened here.
Bernie Sanders' winning streak continued over the weekend with a victory in the Wyoming
All right,
caucuses
I gotta
on
move
Saturday.
slower
Sanders
here.
beat
I must be clicking too much stuff because I pulled up the Isaiah video. Then it backtracked to that one. 1 second, everybody. Okay, so let's pull this up again. Let's see. Am I hitting something? That was the right one that time. All right, so let's listen to Isaiah Washington. Did I say Thomas earlier? Isaiah Washington and why he decided to leave the Democratic Party. So let's listen.
And the reason why I've chosen to walk away from the Democratic Party as I know it, or walk away from the Republican Party as I don't know it, is that something doesn't feel right. And I'm walking away, I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I come from. And if I look at the political lineage of the Democratic Party over the last 50 years of my lifetime, since I was 5 and I'm 55, and very little has changed in my community, or just 2 blocks over from where I am right now, then I have some questions. I got more than questions. Now I have evidence. I have empirical evidence that something is wrong. Because the problem I have with the Democrats is you haven't done enough. If you don't like that, then show me what you're going to do. So I think there's room for this walk away and this walk away movement.
You're active. Walk away movement. I found that term while doing this. You think Dem exit is not the only term that's used in exiting the party. So if you type in walk away Democrats, you'll see other videos that's addressing the same sort of topic, but they don't use Dem exit. Now there is, let's listen to this. Now this one, another Republican person who's on MSC now, who's hosting. Michael Steele, the Black Michael Steele, Nicole Wallace, Joe Scarborough, 3 Republicans on MSNBC, the liberal network, seamlessly hosting a show for an audience that's supposedly liberal. Now, this is black support may be slipping for Democrats, and let's listen.
That should be sending alarm bells ringing in the Democratic Party, which absolutely depends on the continuing support of black voters. But how strong of a hold does the Democratic Party actually have? And what happens if black voters stay home in November? Joining me to discuss is Cliff Albright, co-founder and executive director of the Black Voters Matter Fund, and Alicia Garza, principal of the Black to the Future Action Fund. Welcome to you both. So let's start with you, Cliff. Black Americans are among the most affected by inflation and other economic ills, but that's not the only issue that black voters care about. What are Democrats getting wrong in their messaging at this moment?
Well, good morning to you, Michael. It's always good to share space with my sister in the movement, Alicia. Yeah, I mean, we care about the economy, clearly. We care about inflation, or what many of us more properly call corporate greed. We care about police violence, which was demonstrated all throughout.
So I'm very suspicious of this guy here. And actually the other guess that he's just he's just a Democrat. So I'm very suspicious of this person, but we're gonna let him speak, because him saying inflation and then replacing it with corporate greed, which is really corporate greed, go fuck yourself. That's, to me, is an indication that you're a Democrat, because it's both. It's both. But Democrats want to act like it's just the corporate greed part only. So that's why I'm suspicious of Cliff Albright.
Throughout 2020, it's interesting whenever people say, well, what do black voters care about? Well, you had a whole bunch of black voters and black community members, and particularly young folks, who demonstrated what exactly it is that we care about and are passionate about. Well, for historic summer protests, we want to see some type of police reform passed. We care about student debt. We care about health, contrary to the belief of the senator.
So student debt, health, and police reform. Those are probably 3 of the top 5 things that we're never going to get from the Democratic Party.
From Louisiana.
Without huge direct movement and a revolution.
Actually matters. You can't just discount black women and black maternal mortality rates, right? That's actually a thing that we need to deal with. And the black community cares about all of these issues. We care about racial justice writ large, and we care about voting rights, because many of us recognize that it's through our voting rights that we're able to get movement on all of these other issues that we're very passionate.
And that's another line that gives it away. It's through our voting rights that how does he phrase it? That is absolute. We're not getting any of that through voting.
Many of us recognize that it's through our voting rights that we're able to get movement on all of these other issues that we're.
It's through our voting rights that we're able to get movement on all these other issues, and that is just patently false. You're not able to get anything substantively through the electoral system. I think that's it. This whole video is suspect to me. So let's move on to I think this is the final video. Where is it here? Did I play that one? No, that's David Pakman. It's pretty terrible, that video of David Pakman. That might have been the last. Oh, no. This one here. Wow. I thought I completely forgot where this was, and I just didn't remember the title. If this is the video, I think it is. Because on the Hill, they had this guest. Brianna had this guest. I thought she was fire. Or she was, I wouldn't say go that far, but she was great. So let's listen.
During a photo opportunity, newly minted GOP Representative Mayra Flores has accused House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of, quote, pushing her daughter during a photo opportunity after her swearing-in ceremony last week. And you can see it there. Flores tweeted, quote, I am so proud of my strong, beautiful daughter for not allowing this to faze her. She continued to smile and pose for the picture like a queen. No child should be pushed to the side for a photo op, period. Democrats in Congress are reportedly faulting national leadership for the party's less than desirable performance among Latino voters, including those in Florida's
Hispanics
district.
Are leaving a lot faster than blacks.
Jesus Garcia and Jimmy Gomez said the Democratic Party doesn't pay attention to Hispanic voters until the closing months of an election year.
More than 1 million voters across 43 states have switched party affiliations to become Republicans over the last year, according to the Washington Examiner. Polling shows that President Biden and his party are hemorrhaging favorability across all racial demographics a bad sign for Democrats who've in the past relied heavily on voters of color. Joining us now to weigh in is Teslyn Figaro. She's the host of Straight
Teslyn Figaro. She's pretty good. So let's listen.
Shot, No Chaser podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's always good to see you.
All right, Teslyn, you are one who really does illustrate with respect to what the Democratic Party is doing wrong with voters of color. What do you think is going on here?
Well, what's going on is what I and you and many others have been talking about over the last several years. Me particularly have been talking about it since 2010 when I left the Democrat Party. But now folks are a little more vocal because obviously the slap in the face of Roe v. Wade has left folks who have continued to make excuses for the Democrat Party pretty much at a loss. There is no way to get around this when you look at what's happening with the post-pandemic, with economics. There's no way getting around this when we talk about Build Back Better being completely ignored. There's no way to get around the fact that Joe Biden has not used all of the power to make sure that they codify Roe versus Wade. And again, let's be reminded that this actually started with President Obama before Trump was in office. So now, folks are getting louder and louder. I have always, as you know, been a big proponent of Black voters pushing the line, demanding more because they do hold 90% of the Democrat Party. But now you're also seeing Hispanic voters get even louder. You're seeing Asian voters get even louder. And I encourage that, Bree, because for so long, when I would talk about Black voters and the importance of asking for more, folks would think that was anti, and it was not. It was actually pro the African-American community to demand more. So I encourage every community to speak up loud and clear and to not be afraid to say, no, my community wants more. That is what this is all about. Everyone is supposed to scream as loud as you possibly can and to ensure that these leaders take care of each individual community, because there are individual issues that we all deal with collectively as a group that is not the same.
And people were very upset with people like Ice Cube for saying in the lead up to the general election that Black people deserve something for their vote. Joe Biden responded to some criticism around his response to the Black Lives Matter protest by saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black. And yet here we are. And it does seem like some of the folks who pointed out that it's not that there is a preference for Latino voters among the Democratic Party, as some Black people describe. When some Black people say, oh, the Democratic Party is more responsive to Latino voters or Asian voters, oh, you get a Stop Asian Hate bill before you have a George Floyd bill. I think what they're really perceiving is that when you have an electorate that is more willing to vote for a different party, to take their vote and go elsewhere if their needs aren't met, the party is going to be more responsive.
That is such the point that everybody needs to understand. Same for the women who were in that video, that viral video I'm sure everybody saw, where they're like, the Democratic Party is this and this and this and this and this, and they're calling the Democratic Party out. Hang on a second here.
They're really perceiving is that when you have an electorate that is more willing to vote for a different
right. So the point I was going to make was when the young lady in the video says, but I'm going to vote with the Democratic Party anyway, after she named all the bad shit, how they failed in preventing the overturning of Roe v. Wade, then she ends it by saying, oh, but I'm going to vote for them anyway, unfortunately. You're not going to get anything because you're not willing to vote for somebody else. You literally have to be willing to vote for somebody else multiple terms and live with that other person being elected and all the things they're doing. That's what you have to be able to stomach in order to disassociate yourself from the Democratic Party and get them to do something. Because then both of them will, if they didn't, now it's a strategy how they have these closed primaries, because if they didn't have that, nobody would register for either one of these terrible parties. It's a way of forcing you to pick a team, because otherwise you can't even vote in the primaries.
Different party to take their vote and go elsewhere if their needs aren't met. The party is going to be more responsive to them. And when, to your point, the Democratic Party has 90% of Black people in an unshakable grip, there is very little incentive for Democrats to actually listen to what the Black community is asking for, to the extent that we articulate specific demands. But new NBC reporting fleshes out how voters Democrats need the most are also getting hit the hardest by inflation. Polling from last month shows 79% of people who describe themselves as poor or working class said they were falling behind financially. One pollster told NBC News, quote, particularly for voters that are critical to Democrats doing well in November, younger voters, African Americans, Hispanics, these are voters who are feeling more pain than other voters, and they're looking for real solutions. Are they going to get any, Teslin?
Well, I mean, if we continue to push, they have no choice. You and I talked about this before, and I'm so glad that you brought this up to talk about, why people are leaving. Yes, and I say this to my progressive friends all the time because I am independent. Yes, raising the minimum wage is important. Yes, job security is important. But it's also important, Bree, to talk about, like I always talk about, small businesses. We're not talking about the ultra wealthy. We're not talking about the rich, but we're talking about also businesses. And Democrats have failed time and time again, and progressives, by the way, to talk about business. When we look at post-pandemic, 28%, there was a 28% increase in Black business alone. There was a 19% increase in Latino businesses. There was a 5% increase in the Asian American community just on small business, because after the pandemic, folks were sitting around saying, what do? I no longer have a job, so let me be creative and start a boutique. Let me be creative and do what it is that I've always wanted to do. We can even see with the recent Beyonce song on last week, telling folks to quit their job, to go after what it is that inspires them. So until we start actually talking about how to take care of small businesses besides just the PPP loan, and how can these businesses flourish, you're going to see more folks move out of this party. I believe that more folks will continue to be independent, like myself, not going to the Republican Party, because I don't think that is the option. But there's a mix of folks. One, voters who are just leaving out of spite as a way to say, hey, win me back. Second, the voters who were Republicans all along, those who voted for Obama, then switched back to Trump, and then possibly back to Biden, and then now they're going back to Trump, and then those who are just saying, I want to try another option. So these polls, we really don't know how they're made up of who is who, and we'll see in November. But one thing for sure is the answer is not just, let's just get out and vote. There was an article just posted of me today saying that is a slap in the face. It is disingenuous. It is disrespectful. And basically I said that, Joe Biden is pulling a Will Smith on voters by saying that, hey, all you need to do is just go vote. And yes, that does change things on the state level, but it will not change anything on the federal level if he is not willing to what I call push the line. And as another note, because of voter suppression in various states, because of gerrymandering, no matter how many people go to the polls, states like Texas, for example, or possibly even Georgia as a whole, what happens to those Democrat voters? So to tell them, just vote, what happens, Bree, when nothing changes on the state level for those people? So what should everybody do? Just move to California? That won't work, because California gas is almost $7 a gallon.
And California ain't the place you think it is, because they just torpedoed Medicare for all. So it's not the liberal leftist bastion that you think it is. It's not.
So Democrats have to figure this out, and they should have figured it out a long time ago. I'm seeing a lot of blaming online. Oh, well, it was you progressives. Oh, well, it was Trump. The bottom line is President Biden is in charge right now. And so what will he do right now in this moment?
Republicans are delivering right now for their base, I think, in a way that they haven't in a long time, if ever. Social conservatives just got a huge win, right? This is what they wanted for half a century. Republicans are pushing back on some of the wokeness in school.
I gotta say, this guy, Robbie, I don't understand how he still is on this network. He's terrible. Like, this is beside his points and his ideology. He's just not good at doing this job.
Schools, corporations, etc., that is very animating to the base. Republicans are right now giving their voters what they want. Our Democrats are not doing that, and are they going to? Are people going to be excited to go out there and support Democrats if they're not giving them what they want?
No, they're not.
Republicans have always delivered for their base. And I have been saying that forever. And folks said, oh, you're pro-Trump or you're praising Trump. No, I'm simply pointing out to you that they have always delivered for their base.
I love this next point. I played this whole video for this next section of the video Listen to this next few points that she makes here.
Unfortunately, is not aligned with the things that is important to me and those in my community. Unfortunately, it's been fascism. Unfortunately, it's been a lot of race baiting, unfortunately. But the bottom line is they have always delivered for their base. And I tell people this, Democrats are the only one that says, oh, you know, he's the president for everybody. No, President Trump was the president for his base. Believe it or not, America, this gimmick of, oh, everybody represents everybody. No, it's never been that way. You've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, and led astray if you believe it.
The whole I'm here, I'm elected by this, but I'm governed. No, you're not. You're not. Just like Joe Biden, the things that Joe Biden are doing is not for conservatives. When Trump was in, the things that Trump was doing is not for people like me. They're not doing that. Stop buying that. And not to say that any of you are buying it, but that's complete bullshit.
That it has always been about who delivers for their base. Democrats are the only one that says, oh, you know, we have to continue to do for everybody. Meanwhile, Republicans have always been the minority in this country, but somehow they have taken over state houses. They have always had the majority of state houses on the state level. And they continue to push the line on the federal level, and they don't give a damn, excuse my French, they don't give a damn what you think about it, what you tweet about it, how much you cry about it, how often you sing and B flat off key like the Democrats are doing on the Capitol steps. They're going to continue to do what it is.
All right, I was just waiting for that joke. I was just waiting for that joke. Black people are known to do that shit there. Just in an argument, just throwing something like that. Let's
how
listen.
much you cry about it, how often you sing and B flat off key like the Democrats are doing on the Capitol steps. They're going to continue to do what it is to what I call push the line, which is politics.
All right, so I love her. We're gonna end it here, but this has been my pitch to for people to exit the Democratic Party. This party is truly not working for anyone but their donors and themselves. There's nobody else they're delivering for. There's nobody else that, we have plans. None of that. If the Democrats could just come out and get your vote and then go away into the next election, they would. This presidency, the Joe Biden presidency, in my opinion, is the Democratic presidency that's going to wake up more people to the Democratic Party than any other Democratic presidency. I'm trying to think back. Yeah. He's going to be the president. Under his presidency is going to be the most people who wake up to this bullshit duopoly game, to this bullshit party called the Democratic Party. Now let's see who aren't they delivering for? Because I was going to say who is he delivering for? Is no one. That will be a short list. Let's see. Roe v. Wade. That's women, all nationalities. Let's see the drilling permits. That's all humans on the planet. Right? Let's see. $15 minimum wage. That's the proletariat. Voting rights, that's the Black community and other people, communities of color. What am I missing? Then there's the Russia war. Then there's inflation. Then there's the $2,000 check that we never got. Then there's what am I missing on voting rights? Roe v. Wade. It was something else I'm missing when I'm trying to name them, but the point that I'm making is, yeah, this is terrible. The point, voting rights, $15, those are the big, BBB was the other one. The spending bill, the one who had all those progressive priorities in it, that one failed. So what exactly is this presidency doing well? What exactly is this president doing well? I would say nothing. Democrats just lost. Democrats had a front row seat. This is a better way of saying it. Democrats had a front row seat for the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Democrat has had a front row, rode shotgun this entire 50-year span that the Republicans have been trying to go after Roe v. Wade. And now their solution is, we don't have enough people in the Senate to get rid of the filibuster, but come out and vote for us. We never going to deliver anything. I forgot student loan debt. That was the other one. Didn't deliver on that either. How long are we going to continue in this abusive relationship? How long? How long before you say, this is enough here? Now, leaving the party doesn't mean you can't vote for somebody in the party. Let's say you like a Summer Lee. Let's say you like a progressive. If that person wins, you can vote for them as an independent. You can vote for them as a Green Party member. You can vote for Green Party. Stop pigeonholing yourself into one party and having to choose the lesser of two evils. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. I do got to get going, so I'm going to leave it there. I was going to get to this video, but let's just play it as an outro video here. I'm going to let it loop several times, but it plays well. It goes well for what we're doing here. Where is it? Goes well for this show. And it shows how people are being fed up. This isn't Ryan's original video, but I am showing you the video from Ryan's account. Where is it? Oh, I must have copied and pasted just this page and not the actual video. But the video is not far. It's not too far down here. Oh, that's the same video I showed you earlier, just a shorter version. This is the video here. Let's listen. Oops, wrong one. Let's listen. So I'm gonna exit with this. Is a 30-second video, but I'm gonna let it probably loop 3 times before the stream ends. Thank you for joining me on this Friday special stream, exiting the Democratic Party. Oh, please like this stream. I didn't do this whole video. I was kind of into the topic, so I forgot to ask for your likes during the stream. But let's see where we're at. We're at 325 likes. Maybe we can get to 350. Let's see if we can get to 350. So if you haven't liked this stream yet, please like the stream. Also, to get notifications of streams like this, like impromptu streams that are regularly scheduled, make sure you subscribe to our Substack. You'll be notified of when I do my streams. Each person has to notify you. So I'll make sure I'll tell the others to make sure they do that through Substack. But join the Substack, and we will be sending you, or that'll add you to our mailing list. All right, I think that's it. Again, like the stream, Democrat exit. This video we're going to end with, and then the stream will end. So have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. I don't think I'm doing a stream unless something comes up. So everybody have a great week.
Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is not enough. Democrats, recall your bluff. Voting blue is